All right, gentlemen, I am the master of the list. We're going to 3 points, and if I call a halt, you will halt. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
All right, gentlemen, take your guards. Stand you ready. And lay on. Nope, thrust to the chest. That is 1 point for Murdoch the Massive. Huzzah! Score stands at 0-1. Gentlemen, stand you ready. And lay on. Good. There was several thrusts that were both deflected, and then he came around with a solid strike to the head. We're going to call that a 2nd point for Murdoch the Mediocre. All right, Murdoch the Massive. Is that better? All right, I think he likes that one. All right, gentlemen, score stands at 0-2. Stand you ready and lay on. That's with the flat. No point done. Nothing was good shot. There was a thrust into the arm. It did catch, and the point was in. So we're going to call that 3rd point and match to Murdoch the Magnanimous. All right, let's hear it for these fighters. Very good. All right, we are going to move on to our 2nd fight. Our 2 fighters here are Lady Rune and Inquisitor Chris. They have elected to fight with a spear. Now, Lady Rune has never tried this with the spear before, so let's see how well this goes. All right, fighters. I am the master of the list, and if I call a halt, you will halt. Do you understand? All right, fighters, stand you ready and lay on. That looked like, I'll go ahead and score that one. That looks like that was a thrust to the torso. So 1 point for Inquisitor Chris. Huzzah! Score stands at 1-0. Fighters, stand you ready and lay on. Oh, thrust to the chest. 2nd point for Inquisitor Chris. Huzzah! Score stands at 2-0. Fighters, stand you ready. Lay on. Up, thrust to either the upper arm or the chest. Okay, right around the shoulder. Very good. 3rd point and match for Inquisitor Chris. Huzzah! Let's hear it for Lady Rune trying the spear for the first time on the field. All right, we are going to move on to our next fight. All right, so our fighters here are Lord Chris and Lord Matthew. Once again, I am the master of the list. We will go to 3 points, and if I call a halt, you will halt. Do you understand?
Understood.
All right, gentlemen, stand you ready. Take your guards. And lay on. Oh, whoa! Halt. Now, gotta get past the plate. Nope. Nothing done? Gentlemen, reset. Score still stands at 0-0. He's got very high sitting plate with a gorget above it. You're going to be very unlikely to get a good thrust to his neck, just so you know. Very good. All right, gentlemen, stand you ready and lay on. Halt. That came in towards the side. I'm going to go ahead and count that initial dagger thrust before he did actually what looked also like a controlled takedown as well. So we're going to count that as a point for Sir Chris. Huzzah! Huzzah! All right, gentlemen. Take a moment to gather yourselves. Very nicely done. Okay, a few steps upfield, please. All right, gentlemen, stand you ready. Score stands at 1-0, and lay on. Good, halt, thrust into the hand, it went into the side towards the glove. That is a second point for Sir Chris, huzzah!
Huzzah!
Gentlemen, stand you ready. Score stands at 2-0, and lay on. That's into the shoulder, no point. Oh, did you? Oh, he struck it. Okay, very good. It was very difficult for us to see this. However, Lord Matthew has pointed out that there was a sword strike that did manage to bypass the helmet and get to his neck. So that is third point and match for Sir Chris. Huzzah!
Huzzah!
Very good fighting, gentlemen. Very good. Let's hear it for these fighters. As we get our next set of fighters out here, I want to point out again that our fighters do not get paid to be out on the field, so that all of our proceeds can go to the Make-A-Wish Foundation. All right, gentlemen, I am the master of the list. We're going to 3 points, and if I call a halt, you will halt. Do you understand?
Understood.
All right, gentlemen, take your guards. Stand you ready.
Go, Chris, go.
And lay on. That looked like a solid thrust into the... Yes, so that one was first. The other, the counterattack was late. Therefore, it is 1 point for Sir Ryan. Huzzah!
Huzzah!
Piece of the armor has fallen off, so they're going to just reattach that very quickly. Now, one thing to note here is that Sir Chris, or Lord Chris, is wearing a lot less armor. He's got a lot more exposed target area that he has to protect through his own parrying and movements. We are also treating the front of this helmet as an open face helmet. He's using something that is not a historical helmet visor in terms of how fine of a mesh that the metal has here, so we're counting that as an open face helmet. Therefore, strikes to the face will also be counted. Now, as he ties that on, we'll get ready to move on to the fight.
Thank you.
That's all right. Armor malfunctions were very much part of the game, even back in the day. In fact, that could be part of the tactic, is to specifically damage or remove parts of your opponent's armor to make the rest of the fight much easier. All right, gentlemen, stand you ready. Score stands at 1-0, and lay on.
Wait, are these just volunteers? Are they? You sure?
I'm pretty sure it's yeah, like I get yeah.
All right, for thrust to the face, that is 1 point for Sir Ryan. Huzzah!
Huzzah!
Score stands at 2-0.
I feel like they're both side up for this.
All right, gentlemen, stand you ready.
We got it.
And lay on. Yep.
How badly?
It was on the thigh? Okay, because it looked to me like it was catching the armor, but... Okay, very good. All right, we will count that as a third point then. That is third point and match for Sir Ryan. Huzzah! Very good, gentlemen. Well, these fights went slightly faster than I was expecting. This was actually very good fighting. Very, very good, gentlemen. Let's hear it for our fighters. Once again, out in the sun, doing this for your entertainment, for our charity. We do all of this for the Make-A-Wish Foundation. All of the proceeds go to the charity. If you're not familiar...